Hi, my name is Kim Brown. This video is designed for those pilgrims that will be joining me in the Holy Land. Each pilgrimage to the Holy Land is designed with specific intentions in mind. The leader of the group will kind of come up with a game plan and what is important and what they are trying to achieve. When I take a group to the Holy Land, our goal is to walk in the footsteps of Jesus Christ and to be at the sites of relevance to his life. From the very beginning of the Annunciation to his death and resurrection, and ascension into heaven, as well as some of the things that were important for the early church. And so each tour group is going to experience something different and different sites based on where their pilgrim leader is wanting them to go. And so when we look at a map of Israel, what we notice with Israel is this map here is divided by the allocation of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now we know that there have been changes throughout history based on the political divisions of the time. And so nowadays, we don't necessarily see the maps by the 12 tribes, but I like to do that for a connection between those that have done the church history class or even the Bible timeline class, so they get an understanding of the lay of the land and how things apply based on those tribes. When you go to the Holy Land, this is going to be obviously in the northern region, and this will be the southern region. Over here will be the east, and over here is the west. And so really your pilgrimage to the Holy Land gets divided up into two sections. Those things that will be close to Jerusalem, and typically your group will be staying in Jerusalem like our group is. And the second part of your trip will happen in the Sea of Galilee region, and your group will be staying in Tiberias. So during the time that your group is staying in the Sea of Galilee region, what you will see and experience, right there on the seashores of the Sea of Galilee, you will experience Jesus' home base for his public ministry, and that is Capernaum. This is where Peter the fisherman is from. We also see an early church established here in Capernaum. You'll see what a first century synagogue, the remains, look like. And Capernaum is a really wonderful town, and they built the church there above the site and the ruins of Peter's house, right? And this is where, once again, Jesus began and really established his public ministry, was we see his home base becoming Capernaum. On the Sea of Galilee shores, we will also visit the Primacy Church, and this is where Jesus Christ, meets and gives that authority to Peter, and giving the commissioning to Peter to take care of his flock. We will also go to the church known as the miracle of the loaves and fishes, the multiplication, where Jesus Christ is able to feed the 5,000. And then right there also we see the Mount of Beatitudes Church. And it's a small church with lots of outdoor altars where there'll be celebrations of Mass going on. And with that, you're going to really get the understanding of the lay of the land of where Jesus Christ was truly ministering to. The Sea of Galilee region really does have a lot of open land available. If we go just a little bit south on the Sea of Galilee shores, we'll come to the town of Magdala. Now this is a recent archaeological place that has been recently uncovered as they were going to build a hotel. They ended up doing the digging. And what we understand about the Holy Land is the dirt, it kind of forms layers. And so here was the first layer, and then dirt comes and it covers up the old part, and then more dirt comes and it covers up that part, more dirt comes. And so things are really built upon each other. And so to get down to the first century, sometimes you have to dig low. And that's actually at Magdala, you will see the archaeological dig that's happening. You'll see a synagogue from the time frame of Jesus Christ. And what we do know about Jesus Christ in his ministry and what his apostles did after him in Acts, we always see them going to the synagogue first to preach and proclaim to the Jews, and then they go out to the Gentiles. And so that's going to be those locations right on the shore of Sea of Galilee. Of course, we'll take a boat ride on the Sea of Galilee and just have an opportunity for that joy and what Jesus Christ really did experience so much, because so much of his ministry was in the Sea of Galilee region. Then when we move out to the sides, we'll come to 3 towns right in this general area, and that is going to be the town of where the Annunciation took place, and when the Holy Family returned from Egypt, where they lived in Nazareth. We will also experience Cana, which is close by to Nazareth, and this ultimately is where Jesus Christ performs his first miracle at the wedding of Cana. And we will also go to Mount Tabor, where the transfiguration of Jesus Christ takes place with his inner circle of Peter, James, and John. We'll move out a little bit to the west, and that's where we will go visit Mount Carmel, most famous for the Old Testament story of the pagan priest versus Elijah, and Elijah calling upon God. We also are very familiar with Mount Carmel because of the brown scapular. So that's going to be the Sea of Galilee region, and then we have the Jordan baptismal site. So this is the Sea of Galilee, and then it keeps flowing the Jordan River all the way down to the Dead Sea. And it's called the Dead Sea because water flows in, but nothing comes out. Life is not able to sustain because of the salt content. And so the Jordan River baptismal site we'll visit as well on the way. There's going to be some other stops that go on the way. To understand, from the Sea of Galilee to Jerusalem, we're looking at about 100 miles. So not a very long journey. For a men's group trying to walk from the Sea of Galilee to Jerusalem, you're looking at about a 3-day walk. For a caravan with women and children, you're looking at about a 5-day journey. So that's going to be when you're in the Sea of Galilee region. Now, when you're in Jerusalem, there's going to be, of course, what we do in Jerusalem. But in addition to that, we're going to have opportunities to go and visit a couple sites. First, out along the Dead Sea, you do, of course, have the opportunity to float in the Dead Sea, but then we will also have the opportunity to visit the Qumran community. And the Qumran community was in existence before the life of Jesus Christ, as well as during the time of Jesus Christ. The Qumran community is believed to be from the Essenes, and we believe that the Last Supper was celebrated in the Essene quarter of Jerusalem. The Essenes were a religious sect of the Jews, so a denomination of Judaism, and the Essenes were almost an all-male monastic community. Now, in 1946, 1947 is when they discovered what is called the Dead Sea Scrolls, and in those scrolls we find a lot of really amazing discoveries. Some of it includes the oldest Hebrew manuscripts that we have on record. In addition, we also see the phrase works of the law, which is only used in the Dead Sea Scrolls and in Paul's letter. And so we get an understanding of what are the works of the law that Paul references. So we'll have a chance to visit the Qumran community, where one of the largest biblical discoveries of all time was made, once again, in 1946, 1947. We'll also then go visit the town of Bethlehem, and this is where Jesus Christ, Mary and Joseph traveled to, and where Jesus Christ was born. We will also visit right outside of Jerusalem, kind of like if you think of a suburb, Bethany, and this is where Mary and Martha and Lazarus and Simon the tanner lived. And Jesus would often, we would see him, especially in the Gospels at the end, when he's in Jerusalem, he'll preach in Jerusalem, and then he returns to spend the night in Bethany. Then he goes back and preaches in Jerusalem, and then he comes back to Bethany. And so we see this model. So we know he definitely had a strong relationship with those people in Bethany who he stayed with. Now, out here in the Jordan, Judean area, we also have the Mount of Temptations that we will pass through. Now, once we're inside Jerusalem, there's a lot that's going on in Jerusalem. And so, of course, the most holy site in Jerusalem that we will go to is the site of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which they ended up, upon building this church, it enclosed Calvary, the tomb of Christ, as well as the area where St. Helena found the cross, the true wood of the cross of Jesus Christ. Now, what we'll notice is churches in the Roman Empire, you could not build a church because it wasn't legal to be a Christian in the early Roman Empire time period. And so it was only with Constantine as emperor that you could actually build churches that was legalized to be a Christian. And so his mother, St. Helena, when she went to Jerusalem on pilgrimage and, in search of these holy relics, this is when the church began to get built. So the first Church of the Holy Sepulchre began construction in 325. So that's a holy site that we'll be visiting. In addition to that, we'll also go to the Church of the Agony, or is known as the Church of All Nations. And this is where Jesus Christ prays in the garden before, he's going to be betrayed by Judas, and before his, passion begins. He's there in the garden praying for God's will. His disciples, we know, are falling asleep. From the Church of the Agony, we will also, before that, we back up and we go to the area, the Essene quarter of Jerusalem, where the Last Supper was celebrated. In addition to that room of the Last Supper, that upper room is also the place where Pentecost took place. And then there's a church there known as Dormition Abbey, and this is where the tradition of Mary falls asleep in Jerusalem, where she dies, right? And this is about the year 49 AD based on little tradition. So that's going to be in Jerusalem. Also in Jerusalem, we follow to the Church of Peter and Gallicantu, Peter and the Crow. This is the high priest Caiaphas' house, and this is where Jesus Christ is led after he's betrayed in the garden, and he's taken for his first trial before he then is sent before Pontius Pilate. So we follow in those footsteps there. We will also make the way of the cross, marking the different stations of the cross before we get to the Holy Sepulchre. We will also follow the Palm Sunday route, kind of coming over the hills from Bethany and then moving ourselves down, right? And so there on that trail, you have the church, the Chapel of the Ascension, where Jesus Christ ascended into heaven. You have the Church of the Our Father. We also have the church where Jesus wept as he looks at Jerusalem. And we weave ourselves by the Jewish cemetery. We will also then go to the church where Mary ascended into heaven from, I'm sorry, not ascended. Jesus Christ ascended. Mary's body was assumed. And so we will also then visit St. Stephen's Gate, where St. Stephen is killed as he's the first martyr of the Christian church. We will also then, in Jerusalem, have the opportunity to visit at the Notre Dame Center. We'll have the opportunity to visit the Shroud of Turin exhibit. So these are some of the things we have the opportunity to look forward to. In Bethlehem, we'll be able to visit, the site of where Jesus Christ was born. We're able to visit where Mary in Nazareth had the Annunciation that she said yes to the Lord for having the child Jesus, and that the Holy Spirit would overshadow her. We have the opportunity to just be in the Sea of Galilee region where so much of his ministry happened and so much of his teachings took place. We have the opportunity to walk with him during his passion, and we'll have the opportunity to be at the site of his crucifixion as well as the site of his resurrection at the tomb. So it's truly this wonderful pilgrimage that we have the opportunity to walk in the footsteps of Jesus Christ. And this map kind of just gives you an understanding of the lay of the land of what's going to happen in the Sea of Galilee region and what's going to happen in the Jerusalem region during our pilgrimage. So we look forward to this pilgrimage experience, and we'll have more videos to kind of help you to prepare for this opportunity. God is love. Let the kingdom know.